All right, so hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the Albert's List webinar. Today is April 5th, 2016, and our topic today is Career and Etiquette Best Practices with Stella Yuen. And so if this name seems familiar to you, it should be because we've had Stella on this show before. We've talked about the great things of Confessions of a Corporate Recruiter, which happened back in February. And as you recall, I took that webinar in the front seat of my car in Sunnyvale. Today's a little bit different. I'm sitting in my room here in not so sunny Southern California, and we're going to talk about career etiquette best practices. So for those of you who have not met Stella before, Stella is a career coach and career counselor, and she also works as a recruiter at a regional or nationally known company. And we're here to talk to her about career etiquette because both in our group, which is Albert's Job Listings and Referrals, and I should introduce myself. I am Albert Chen, founder of Albert's List. We are a career marketplace catering to now just about 14,200 members, connecting them with recruiters, job seekers, hiring managers, and much, much more. And so both in our experience with that group, as well as really moving beyond that, etiquette is something that job seekers, as I've really come to know and understand, struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And so Stella, welcome back to the show. I wanted to acknowledge you there as well, just so as we go along with this interview here, that people are joining in, watching, and kind of getting to know what we're all doing here. Did I hopefully introduce you in the best way possible?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Albert.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's start by first defining what on earth career etiquette is. As a recruiter who talks to, in my mind, probably hundreds of candidates on a weekly, monthly basis, you get your share of people who do this well, and you get your share of people who do this not so well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So career etiquette for me is really interesting because on my previous position, I was a program manager for a career development program, and I have a lot of people emailing me and talking to me over the phone, which, now in modern day with technology, it's definitely usual, but there's a certain, as you can say, like proper procedure to doing so. And some people don't necessarily have the best etiquette. And I actually, from the research that I've done with the students I work with in the past, and these are college students as well, I noticed that they don't necessarily have the proper technique or good gracious when they're reaching out to me, especially when they need something. So it's really important to have good etiquette in terms of emailing, phone, and we might even go into dining etiquette if you're doing an interview that requires dining. Those are definitely really important because if you think about first impressions, that's really all you have, especially if you're asking someone for a favor, such as a job or a career help or something.
Perfect. Cool. So just for the audience, by the way, if you have any questions, please type them in the live chat area below and we will get started. So you've kind of mentioned everything from dinners to interviews to phone conversations. What's a consistent piece of etiquette that you believe goes across all of those, including the online experience when it comes to engaging and interacting with people in the hiring manager or HR type of stakeholder area?
Sure. I think it's just being professional and not being rude. I think it's the thing across all things is just for emails and phone, you don't want to start out with yo, or hey, I need your help, or make yourself seem like you're entitled to something because honestly you're not. And then for dining etiquette, not be rude as well. So not being rude to, let's say, your waiters or the chefs and saying how horrible the food is or something, or pointing something out at the dinner table that you should. So I think, that's definitely the underlying theme as a basis for sure.
So then what's the difference between, say, being honest and having etiquette at the end of the day for somebody who either is a job seeker or somebody who might be in the seat of being able to offer a job?
Sure. I mean, I think you should definitely not lie. However, you be as brutally honest as you can within reason. If you're entitled to your own opinion, but if it's rude or mean and it doesn't have any significance, then I wouldn't even mention it. Something like, oh, your outfit's horrible, or this food's horrible, or that's a weird accent, or whatever it is. But if it's something being honest in terms of job seeking, such as like, hey, I'm interviewing with other jobs right now, or other companies right now, that you should be honest with. But that's something that you should and might want to bring up. But I mean, there's just some things that you're entitled to your own opinion, but it's just unnecessary to say.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think in order to make this conversation the best between you and I, as well as our viewers today, I'd like to talk about how courtesy and etiquette occurs in each part of your job search, from when you're first recruited all the way through the offer stage and even into your first job or your second job, or in my case, your 10th job. So as somebody who is most likely in all of those stages, including when somebody starts and when somebody gets fired, we'll even cover that. I'd like to start with the initial recruitment phase. So you're sitting at your computer and you've been applying for jobs, and a recruiter gives you a phone call, and you pick up your phone and you start a conversation with them. Tell me where etiquette fits in here.
The whole thing.
Well, of course, the whole thing. But as somebody who has to reply to lots of phone calls, and if you're in an in-demand profession, you're likely getting phone calls, LinkedIn messages, emails, and everything in between. And there's no doubt that whatever it is that you're saying, people, however, whatever channel you're on, if you're very, very in demand, people are going to somehow find you. And so whether you're perhaps annoyed that you're getting this call, or extremely grateful that you're getting this call, much like a younger version of me when I was 23 and still very much on the job market, and $45,000 a year looked like a very, very big number to me. How does one respond in a way that demonstrates the most etiquette on one of these initial phone calls to a recruiter?
Sure. It's just like with proper greeting. I think when you answer your phone, like I said, you shouldn't be like, yo, or like, who is this? That's just plain rude. It's like, hi, I'm trying to call you to see if I can offer you an interview, and you're like, hello, and giving me attitude, definitely not. I think some good ways to start would just be a simple hello, and it really does depend on your tone of voice, because you can say hello and you can say hello. It can sound really bad, but it could be like hello, or like, hi, this is Stella speaking. So introduce yourself so the person knows, like the recruiter knows that they have the right person. Or like, hi, this is Stella speaking. How can I help you? Or like, hi, how can I help you? And it's just like that general nice, just really simple greeting. But honestly, it does depend on your tone of voice, because I can tell if you're annoyed. If you're busy, honestly, that's what voicemail is for. Go ahead and give them a call back. You don't have to answer your phone. There's a lot of people who answer their phones during class or during work, and I'm like, hey, is this a good time? And they're like, no, not really. I'm in class or I'm at work. It's like, well, then why did you answer your phone? I could have just left a message. You could have told me back.
All right. Yeah, I in my own experience, I usually answer by saying, "This is Albert speaking," and then I let the other person kind of go from there, because I know how cold calling can be for people and just how annoying it can be, so that when you answer in a way that helps them confirm that they've indeed reached the right person, it helps the conversation flow a lot better. There's a lot of human psychology involved.
Yeah. I mean, it could be annoying, but at the same time, even if I did say get 100 phone calls a day, as like a professional and as a recruiter and as like a career counselor, I should still have proper etiquette because that's actually what I portray to people. Like, I don't want to be known as a person who's like super rude to answer the phone, you know?
Yep.
No one's going to call me back. No one's going to want to work with me.
Exactly. So now that you've had the call with the recruiter, I would say we should move into the interview phase, right? So you're now coming on site, you're at the site of the company that you're interviewing at, or heck, you have your initial phone screen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to speak to the person in HR.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to speak to the person who's going to be interviewing you. And if you're in a more senior role, you're maybe speaking to 3 or 4 people who are going to be interviewing you.
Mm-hmm.
How does etiquette play into each and every one of these engagements? Obviously, it's important to acknowledge, say thank you, and we'll talk about the power of thank you later. But how do you respond to, say, somebody who is your direct hiring manager, somebody who you may be working parallel with, or somebody that's just simply from HR, maybe has no clue what the difference between what your job and the next person's job is, but is responsible for picking you up from the lobby, possibly asking if you'd like a glass of water, things like that.
So it doesn't matter who interviews you, picks you up, whatever it is. Just know that whether they're interviewing or not, everyone talks. So the front desk person, so as a recruiter, the front desk person is going to tell me, like, if you're rude, if you're constantly on your phone, or if you're treating them horribly, or whatever it is, or if you're super nice and had a great conversation with them. Like, whoever it is, even if you pass someone in the hallway to the bathroom, if you're in the bathroom chatting with someone, like, people will know if you're in for an interview and they will chat with whoever. And that's just the reality of it, unfortunately. So wherever you go, you definitely want to stay professional. And when I say professional, it means like, being polite, but also being relatable as well. So I always think about it as like, talk to people in a company, like the recruiter, the HR manager, the partners, whoever it is, like you're talking to your friend, except not as casual. And when I say not as casual, I mean like, don't throw in the slang, don't throw in the cuss words, just be professional in the sense that you're using proper words that you usually should if you're talking to someone you don't know, or to a client, or to an interviewer.
And what's your belief in, say, throwing in some slang and throwing in some swearing after the two of you have, after your hiring manager has hired you and, you're like 2 months into the job?
Sure.
Is it okay then?
It really depends on the relationship that you have established. If you feel comfortable enough that your relationship is there and that you can, and your boss does it, I would try and feel it out. However, I would just stay away from it in general. You're representing yourself in the workplace, and even though your boss is doing it, that's what they're doing. You don't have to do it, because there's a bunch of other people watching you as well. Your boss might be okay with it, but your boss's boss or your boss's colleague might not be okay with it. And if you're in a meeting throwing around like swear words just because your boss does, it's not going to go well with other people. So
that makes sense.
With that one-on-one relationship, yes. But if you're in a room full of people where they don't necessarily know you and you still have to be presentable, definitely not.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And so that sounds like it's pretty good advice for the interview phase, and I guess we're moving fairly quickly here. How about the offer phase? So you're sitting at home, you've gone through, I don't know, 28 in-person interviews like I have with various different companies on my last job search, and companies start calling you back. And maybe you're lucky enough to have 4 offers on the table, like I've had before. And that just makes life hard as heck, because you've got all these great companies that are calling you back, and you're sitting on your bed and you're like, oh my goodness, you just made my life harder. Thank you so much.
And
Uh, and you say it, of course, in a voice that's very grateful and very nice. And so tell us more about how you meander through the etiquette phase of the offer portion and how you what people do to lose offers and what people need to do to retain the offers that they have currently on the table.
I think it's really funny because I told you guys last time that I just started my job about 3.5 months ago. And when I picked up the phone, it was during work. So I picked up my phone and I was really formal and kind of quiet because everyone outside can hear me. And I was like, hello, Stella. And then, or I was like, hello. And then they're like, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. Can I speak to Stella? I'm like, this is she. And I was just super formal. And my now boss's boss was like, why are you being so formal? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because I thought I was like, oh, I'm just polite. But it might have came off as like, wow, she, like what happened to her personality? So I think when you answer the phone, it should still be like, hello. But when they do give you the offer, be excited. Don't be so excited where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But you can where you're grateful. And you can, like I said, you can hear in your tone of voice and you can hear to what you say. So you can be like, oh, thank you so much for calling. I've been waiting for your call. This is such a great opportunity and I'm really excited for the offer. Let me just think about it and get back to you. I look forward to getting the offer letter in my email. And with that, it just sounds like, okay, cool. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. I'm really thankful. So that's one thing to do to keep the offer is be thankful and be genuine. Not like, oh yeah, I knew I was going to get it. That's how you keep the offer.
And so how do you respond then when you say, let me think about it, and you're in your most courteous voice, and the HR person on the other side of the phone pushes you to make a decision right there? I've had this happen to me before as well, and it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, even though, sometimes it's the job that you really want. You just want to play the field, kind of see what things are like. And so how do you make light of that part of the conversation and not come across as somebody that possibly loses the offer?
Yeah. So I think in that case, you say as much as you want to say. I've had people tell me like, yeah, so I had 2 offers on the line and and I was like, oh, and I've already had somewhat of a relationship with this person. So I was more like, can you tell me a little bit of what you're leaning towards or like, can I help you answer any more questions? So in that case, you can just say like, here's my question. You can say like, no, you've already answered all my questions. Thank you so much. I just want to take these next couple of days to think about it because it is, either life changing. You don't have to use such a big word like life changing, but it is definitely something to think about. And I'll definitely reach out back to you if I have any more questions. But I look forward to getting the hiring package and skimming through that in order to make my decision. And we'll be in contact.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's the art of deflection, as I've come to understand and come to know.
I actually did that to my, I was talking to a financial planner today, and I unfortunately didn't meet him anymore. And he's like, so what you're saying is basically you're going to call me when you need me. I'm like, I'm really thankful for, you always all this time. At this moment, I need to start thinking about other things. So I will definitely reach out to you when I'm ready.
Yeah, it can be a heartbreaking process because, hearing no, either as I would say a job provider or a job seeker, sometimes the worst thing in the world because, you have to go back and you have to open the requisition again and go through the entire hiring process. And sometimes that takes like 4 to 6 weeks. It's pretty ridiculous. Thankfully, technology, has made it quicker.
Have to like feed into their ego and like make it sound really pleasant. Like, you've helped me so much. Thank you so much. But I'm just kidding. But that's, I mean, that's an exaggerated version, but it's true. You do want to be thankful because they have helped you. However, they can't force you into an answer. And, you know, if they still want you, they're going to keep it open. And they want you for a reason, because they want to give you the offer and they feel like you're the best candidate. So, you know,
I agree.
Recruiters and HR managers, they do understand that this is the process. It just sucks. I've been waiting around for someone to give me an answer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, please, like, do not choose the other company. And it's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, you just kind of like have to give them, you know, what you can give them, and then definitely return their phone call, you know, within a certain time. If they like, you need to let me know by Friday, definitely let them know by Friday. And I think it's right that if you do decline the job, to say, you're not obligated to say it, but it would be nice if you mention like, this is why I didn't take the job, you know, just so they have that information for next time. You don't have to, but it's just nice. And, you know, if you ever want to go back to the company for another opportunity, it's just nice to stay like good, have that good connection and not like end up in their bad, you know, making them think that, you know, you're a horrible person and, you know, you're just rude and feel entitled or something.
Definitely. Those are good insights and good points. So the final aspect of, the final two aspects. So one is, now you've started the job and it's your first week, it's your first month, it's your first year, or it's your first 5 years. Etiquette still obviously matters.
Yeah.
And so how do people who want to conduct career etiquette do their best job and still sound very respectful to the people that are around them? Because I know early on in my career, I would go to lunch and sometimes bosses would pay, and sometimes I would forget to say thank you. And that didn't look so great. And the 28-year-old version of me thinks it's very shameful that the 22, 23-year-old of him just didn't say thank you for some reason, as if he was entitled to lunch. And obviously that's a good lesson for anyone who's watching this video to understand that, you know, thank yous, even to that small of a level, go a long, long way. And so how does being able to demonstrate that you actually have etiquette in the workplace contribute to everything that is going on? Can it get you the promotion even though you're not really gunning for one that way? Can it get you fired? Can it presumably get you into the black hole of death where no one wants to talk to you for anything unless it's the really, really, really last moment of a project?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, like this whole process is about relationship building. It's about like connecting with the person. It's your manager, whoever it is, to be in like, so that they can see you in a good light. And one way to do that is, yes, to use like please and thank yous. Like, I don't even know how many emails I write where I'm a little bit more formal, even though I know the person, because I like want something for them. So there's definitely a lot of like, please, thank yous, have a great day. And I made that sound really fake. But it does add a lot to it because you don't want some people want you to get straight to the point, but there's like a certain way you can say it. You can't just say it like, okay, here's what it is. You know, you have to watch your tone of voice. You have to watch their reaction to gauge like how you're going to say it and how you're going to preface it. So I think a lot of things is like how you preface something. There's a lot of times where, you know, there's people who send me emails that says like, hey, we would like you to sponsor a scholarship or this certain amount, or even like my alma mater. They're like, hey, you know, want to donate money? And for me, I'm like, no, sorry, I'm still paying loans. Don't bother me. So,
Yeah, tomorrow is my university's day of giving, so
oh,
I'm sure there will be plenty of call to actions that people will want to be like, "Oh, yeah, about that. Donate to us, please. Thank you." That kind of thing.
we'll all
So,
be getting our phone calls, but at the same time, it's like it depends on how you want to be known. If you do want to be known
yeah.
as like a good, nice, generous person, you don't necessarily have to donate, but you do have to say it in a nice way, saying like, again, it's a lot of the preface, like, hey, enjoy going to school, love the school, provided a lot for me. However, at this time, I won't be able to donate, but please keep me in mind for next year. You know,
Hmm.
um, and that's just a nice way to say like, no, but
No,
no,
but thank
but
you.
I'll definitely think
Yeah.
about it. And whether you think about it and it's still a no next year, at least it's
Hmm.
not like no, and
No.
like no, go away. And it's just like a nice way of saying that, or it's like, thanks for your time, or I hope you have a great day. It's like, no, but I hope you have a great day. At least that's something positive. So you definitely want to end with something positive, even if it is a negative. So the
Right.
structure of it, whether it's an email or a phone call or a conversation, you want to start out with like a positive, the negative, and then a positive. So then you want to say like, hey, how's it going? So if I wanted to catch someone, like I always need something at work. Well, I was like, hey, Albert, how's it going? So start out with that. So it's like, it's not just straight to the point. It's like, okay, you're good. All right, perfect. We'll discuss a little bit. All right. Well, it's come to my attention that I need this from you. And it's like, okay,
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. Let's discuss this. Like, how can I get this from you? It's been difficult, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. I got it from you. All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
And just like wrapping that up and saying something positive. Like, thanks so much. Or like, okay, great. Have a great day. Or like, we'll be in touch. Just like a nice little ending. So then it's not just like you take what you need and then run.
Yeah, sometimes I'm very guilty of that, where it's like I want things that I need to get done at work, and you have to say, "Hey, can you please get this done for me? Or can
Mhm.
you please help me out with this?" And when you're done, you say, "Thank you. I really appreciate your time." And I think in general, it's always a good best practice to be able to thank people for their time because we all have the same 168 hours in this world.
Mhm.
Beyonce does too, except she can delegate work as well. But it's important for at least the people that we work with on the same level, or at least one or two levels higher, that we thank them for their time and we're able to acknowledge them for it. All right, Kelly has a question here. She says, "I'm new to HR. I'm polite and respectful to the people I work with, but I definitely chat more with employees that I like." Ooh. Do you think being in HR means you need to be fake to employees that you don't really like? Tell us more about that, Stella.
You don't have to be fake. You just have to be polite.
You just have to be what?
You don't have to be fake. Never be fake. Be as
Mm-hmm.
real as you can, but you can also be polite about it. There's definitely been times where people have emailed me multiple times, even though I told them like, "Hey, we don't have any positions open," or "This is not something I can help you with," and they just keep like emailing me over and over again, even like calling me, and it's just like, okay, so you not get the point, and that's really frustrating. And I think in that, you don't want to be rude, don't want to ignore them, even though as much as you want to, but just kind of like, tell them that, kind of make the message so they know that the conversation is ending. So usually
Mm-hmm.
I say like, um, say something like, "Hey, we don't have any positions open right now," or like, "Hey," I don't say "Hey," I say "Hi," but I say, "Hi, Albert. Thanks for submitting your resume. We will get back to you if we feel like you're a good fit." So then that kind of just
Mm.
like closes off the conversation, so they know like I will be reaching out to you. You don't have to reach back out to me. So kind of just like find a way to close the conversation to where they understand it, but that you're also nice
Well, it's like putting someone down nicely, like if you were to reject them for a date, right?
about it. Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
saying, it's like, hey, I really appreciate it, and I'm very flattered by your comments, but not at this time.
No,
Something
it's really me, not you, but it's really me talking. I'm not going to say that.
I see, I see. The parallels make themselves very apparent to me here. So the final part, I think, of etiquette, and this is before we talk about the power of, the right types of words to use in these conversations, is when you get laid off or when you get fired. And obviously, in either of these two situations, I've been in more than enough of them to last probably several lifetimes for some people. You're wheeled into a room. On one side is the director or your manager or whichever. On the other side is some innocent person who has nothing to do with you, who's from HR, with a manila folder full of presumably termination documents. Everything from, and allow me to just describe it here because this is just what I enjoy doing. A lot of termination documents that include everything from your final paycheck your to any outplacement services, to your healthcare benefits, to everything else. And they tell you your job is no longer available, or that you've done such a terrible job here over the past 2 weeks that we're just not going to let you stay. And you know, and in both situations, and I've sat on the ends of both, where I know I was going to get fired, or I wanted to get fired, or I didn't want to get let go, and it just happened the way it happened. And so, and obviously going through anyone's mind at that point, whether you have access to a group like Albert's List or not, is, shoot, I'm sitting here and I'm being told that I'm no longer wanted. And you can go either in two directions. You can say, I guess, what can you say? I'm not gonna answer that question myself, because I've been there before. But as an HR professional, what do you do in a very tense, bristly situation like that, where you just don't fall apart and go crazy?
As an HR professional or as a person on the other
What is HR's recommendation, and what is your professional opinion? And if they're the same, then they're the same.
side? Yeah, I think it's just stay calm. It's funny
Hmm.
because like I never knew the power of breathing until recently. Like all you have to do is sit there, take a couple breaths, and you actually do really calm down. If you all want to try it, it kind of works.
Yeah.
um,
Oh, totally,
So I
totally.
just realized that. So if you're on the other end, even if you're HR, it's not easy telling someone that they're going to be fired or let go. So it's the power of taking a couple breaths, and then in either situation for both people, you want to look good. You
Mm.
may be HR firing someone, but on the other hand, you don't want. Let's say I'm firing you, Albert. Like I'm um, but I don't. I want to present it in the way to you that you still think we have such a great company. It's just unfortunate I have to let you go because of budget cuts, whatever it is. And for the
Yeah.
HR person, it's nicer if I explain it to you why you're being let go instead of just like, sorry, man, like, see ya. But instead, if I'm like, hey, it's been a pleasure working with you. However, because of budget cuts and because you were the last person on our roster, we have to let you go. Here's
Mm.
your package. This is what we've done for you. Let me know how I can help.
Mm.
Ideally, that's what HR should do. Some don't. But at the same time, on the other hand, for you, obviously you're like pissed off, like, oh my gosh, I just lost my job. But at the same time, keep calm, because in the event that you do still like absolutely love the company, and a chance that they might hire you back for a different position, you want to still make yourself look good. So you can still use your, like, may I ask, like, why I'm being let go, or like, is there anything you can help me with? And just, be polite about it so that they can see, like, you're still a good person, that
Hmm.
it is their bad and unfortunate that they have to let you go. But in the event that they can hire you back, it's like, okay, well, Albert was still cool, instead of, oh my gosh, he just totally went off on us. He was like throwing all this stuff around. Like, that's not the impression you want to leave with, because also, if they do have like a sister company, or your manager has other friends, they want to be able to recommend you if you are really that good an employee. So you definitely want to show yourself in the best light. So again, be polite, say your thank yous. You can scream in your car, but don't let anyone see you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been laid off, let go in probably 3 or 4 different ways here in the first 6 years of my career. It's pretty ridiculous at this point,
Pretty
which is
fun, huh?
why I've built Halbert's List. And each time, it pretty much stinks. But I think every single time, there's a lot of different ways to do it. I've been let go where they tell my recruiter, because this is a contract role, that they didn't want me anymore. And the final phone call was just, thank you for your time, hang up. There's been Yeah. And then there have been situations where I've been whisked into a conference room and it's because of budget issues. And then there have been situations where I've been whisked into a conference room because I didn't do a very good job. And this was very early on in my career. And in most of the situations, I would say very, very early on, again, 23-year-old Albert rears his ugly head. Where in earlier situations, I probably didn't take it so well. It's like, oh, really? You're letting me go? All right, whatever. I don't care. And that's not, I think, the way to take it either, because if you show that you've been let go and you don't care, that makes you look pretty bad too, just as much as if you were to throw a tantrum and flip over the table.
Then they're like, yeah, I was right about him.
Yeah, yeah. On the other hand, in other situations where I've been let go, I go home and I send an email of thank you to whomever it was that actually did the axe cutting. In one situation, I went home and I thanked my direct manager and my manager's manager for their time. And I said, hey, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to work here. I'm sorry it couldn't work out. Yeah, goodbye. And then in the other situation where I was more recently laid off, because the conversation was so tense between everybody in the room, I actually went home and over the weekend sent out an email and I said, hey, look, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity that you had offered to me here. And I'm sorry that, we're getting laid off due to budget cuts. And we couldn't have this conversation under better circumstances, but I wanted to thank you and appreciate all the support that you're going to give me in this transition. And so in each of these kinds of, I think, areas, thank you is a very important statement and term to use. Because, as I've read, there's nothing bad people can say when you say thank you. If somebody's having a bad day at work and they confide in you, you thank them for sharing that with you. If somebody fires you, you thank them for the opportunity to work for them. If somebody criticizes you at work, you thank them for the criticism and say, hey, I'm going to take that into consideration. Because there's no way that somebody can get mad at you for telling them thank you. Otherwise, they're just not good people, at least in my opinion. And so in general, and we'll get to your question, Eric, here in a quick moment, is what are good words that people should use in their careers that demonstrate etiquette besides thank you?
I definitely use a lot of please and thank you. I always start out with like, how are you, or hope you're doing well, or I'll usually start out with like something personal. So I can, like, if I'm messaging you, I can be like, hey, how was, if I message you after this video, it's like, hey, how was your burgers and fries from In and Out? Just start that conversation there and then make that connection, because eventually, which hopefully not, you might be saying something that's negative or like that someone doesn't want to hear. So you want to start off, like I said, on a positive light. I don't think there's any keywords necessarily, but like please and thank you, definitely. I think just whatever shows appreciation. like I appreciate you, or your time is really great, or you're really valuable. Because if you think about it, like how many times, like your bartender or your waiter are always like super busy and like work their ass off, and they're like constantly waiting on people, and that's basically your job. And if you like waiting on people, which I don't know how many people just love doing that, that it's a job where it's exhausting, and some people are just like rude, and they're like, give me this, or like, why isn't this like this? So when someone simply says like, hey, you're doing a good job, or like, thank you, or like give you a big tip, even if it's like not something that's said, but it could be something that's like a hug or something. It's funny because I was pissed off the other day, and I was just going around the room. I'm like, someone give me a hug. Someone give me a hug. And that just made me feel better. And they didn't
like, really, wow.
Someone give me a hug. So it's just like something as little as that shows appreciation and shows that you care. Or sending like a funny picture. Our front desk person always sends like a newsletter where there's like funny photos or something, and it just totally makes my day. And I send a message back just saying like, thanks for the newsletter. It totally made my day. Or like, this was hilarious. And it's just like a simple note, but like she sends it back and it's like, thanks, I really appreciate it. And like people like when they, are told that, because, who doesn't like appreciation? And even if you're shy, honestly, you like the appreciation, you might not like the attention, but you like the appreciation. So it's just like the little things like that. It could just be that simple. Like, have a great day. Bye. See you tomorrow. At least you're being acknowledged. I think that's just the biggest key thing.
Makes sense. So how then, and this is a question from Eric here, with regards to former employers, what do you do if a company gives a less than truthful response to the recruiter? How do you demonstrate etiquette there when it comes to say why you got let go? If a company stretches the truth, lies about your performance, things like that.
Great question. Say things. Just kidding. I mean, you might want to start by saying like, thanks for your feedback, and maybe it's something that you can ask questions for them to elaborate on. If it is a big concern for you, I would even take it a step of like calling or setting up a meeting with the HR director to see if hopefully they can take it to see like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you and see what was going on, and just like explain some stuff, like whatever it is. But whatever it is, like just don't be rude. You can either take it what it is, thank them and be nice, and just know that it's not the truth. But the underlying thing is like, just don't be rude. And I know that I kind of like sidestepped from your question and didn't completely answer it. I don't know if there's like an exact answer, because if you're not truthful, like unless they're telling other recruiters or like other employers lies about you, it's a situation that you single-handedly might want to discuss like why they're telling them this, and to see if you can like explain your case, honestly, or if it's just what it is, just let it go. Sometimes it's not worth it.
Cool, wonderful. So we're actually running here about 45 minutes in, and so I don't know that we have any other questions here on the line. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to add to the idea of, let's cover one off on one final thing. Let's talk about etiquette in online groups when it comes to LinkedIn, when it comes to our group, Albert's List, because the impetus for this entire conversation today comes from our group, which is growing at 900 people a month. And in general, being a very respectful person online can be a very, very tough task. Especially when you're on Facebook, when you just got off of commenting on your friend's cat photos or talking or commenting on a piece of, political news or whichever. How do you how do you come across as that respectful person online as well, and show to people that you are that respectful individual that should be worth hiring?
Yeah. I think this always just goes back to the question is like, when they ask you the question on resumes, on interviews, how'd you make yourself stand out? That
Mm-hmm.
basically goes back to that question to where like, just follow the proper etiquette. We just talked about like the whole procedure to like and obviously there's much more to it than this. This is like, we can go on and on all day, but Albert and I are just giving you the short and condensed version. So feel free to ask me more questions. But like from the beginning to the end, we want to see you like following through. So for example, and I'll give you a real example, and hopefully I'm not calling anyone out, but there's people who post on Albert's list saying like, hey, I need help on my resume. And for me as a career coach and someone who reviews resumes, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. And honestly, this is like on my own free time. I have my full-time job. I have like a side business. I have other stuff I need to do. But I love helping people, and I love helping people succeed. So I volunteer. Now, of course, Albert tags me. Like, okay, sure, I'll help you. And then there was this one time where there was 3 people who needed my help. I'm like, okay, cool. And I personally made sure to tell them like, hey, I'll help you. And honestly, I'm going to be truthful. I was lagging. Like, shoot, that was a busy week or something. But I shot them a quick email saying like, hey, still willing to help you. Really busy right now. Please give me a couple days. Just to give them a heads up like, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm not trying to be unprofessional. But just to let you know, I'm going to need a couple days. So they know it once they expect to hear me back. It's like, okay, cool. Got it. Sent me their resumes, proper etiquette. If someone does help you, please send your stuff within like 24 to 48 hours. You don't need to be waiting around for like 2 weeks and then like following up with you to see.
Pretty guilty of that. I've done that before too, where it takes me like a week to get people stuff. And I try to turn things around as much as I can in 36 to 48 hours.
Especially if you're like in the group, like asking for help, we know you're active. It's not like you're just like, oh yeah, like give me 2 weeks. Like I'm personally got 2 weeks and I'm volunteering my time. So just make sure you do that. And then I like took my time, looked at people's resumes, did it pretty in depth, did 3 people, by the way. And gave them feedback and was even like, and I was even nice about it. I was like, hey, you did this well, because of course you want to start out with the positive, but you can work on this. Following up, hey, let me know if you need anything else or if you have any questions, be more than happy to help. And that's just me, again, on my personal time, helping these 3 people out. Sent them back, didn't hear anything back. Not even a simple like reply, thank you, which would have been great to acknowledge that, first of all, they received the resume and the corrections that I spent, time doing. Second, it would have been nice, like, hey, thanks for your help. Even if it's just something as simple as that, you don't need to elaborate and be like, hey, thanks for your help. I really appreciate this and this and this and this. And you're so awesome. Of course, I would like absolutely love that email and you telling me how great I am. Don't really need it.
We know you're great, Stella.
What?
We know you're great. It's okay. You can wax poetic here, but yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
So just send a couple lines like, thank you, I really appreciate it. After that, it would also be nice to like keep the person updated, like, hey, got an interview, because now they're along in this process with you. So it's like, hey, got the interview, got the job, thank you again. Just something really simple to acknowledge that, this person helped you. I could be technically charging you as well. You don't have to say thank you. I'm taking your money. I'm saying thank you. I'm just kidding. But like, honestly, I could be charging you for doing this resume, but I'm not. And I brought that up to Albert's attention. I'm like, hey, there are some people in your group, and that kind of sparked the webinar actually. there's some people in your group who, just take everything because, there's abundant of resources and it's so nice to have this community to help you. But don't forget to appreciate and say thanks as well. Something just that simple lets people know that they appreciate you. And not only that, it's like, I will do it for you again. Now, if these people ever email me, it's like, are you kidding me? You even dare email me back after not doing so? What do you want now? That's going to be my annoyed thoughts, So
Yeah.
I think that's definitely proper etiquette, especially in the community, using Albert's list. Whenever I pose a question and people answer, I'll go back and say thanks. Literally, that's it. I don't think but thanks, or I'll point something out oh, this really helped. Whatever it is, just to show appreciation, because it's you don't want to just take it all. That's just rude, and you're just being ungrateful. And I want that time back for my resume. I honestly hope people got their jobs, but
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. So we're actually coming up here on the final 10 minutes. And so as you know, in the final 10 minutes of every single one of these webinars, we give you an opportunity to share what you're all about. And we also probably in this case actually get to share what we're going to be all about soon. So I'll let you share what you're all about first, and then we'll go into the last little bits, and then we'll wrap it up. So take it away.
Cool. So all about me, huh? All right.
All about you. Who are you? What's this Find Your Peanut Butter that we've heard about twice already?
Yeah. So Find Your Peanut Butter. So question for you guys: have you guys ever graduated from college, or even now that you're transitioning from a job, and you're like, oh my gosh, job searching is so hard. I don't even understand it. What are the first steps? Because obviously there's a lot of steps to it. So how many of you guys had this thought? I'm gonna pretend that you all raise your hand. So for me, I was that process comes naturally for me. Fortunately, I've worked in several career services. I've built several career services. I've done a lot of hiring, training, interviews, recruiting in my lifetime. Not to make me sound that old, but for me, that part was easy. The part that wasn't easy was dating, and I'm like, oh my gosh, telling all my friends, oh, it's so hard to date. What is this online dating? What is this trying to connect with people? Blah blah blah. I rather just find a job. It's so much easier. And then I realized finding a job and finding a date or finding your soulmate. So I say finding your careers compared to finding your soulmate is actually a really similar process if you think about it. You're going through the finding process, such as going to networking events. This is going to your frat parties or networking events or whatever it is. I'm going on the first date, so it's finally getting that first interview because someone's yes, I like you, I want to give you a chance. Going through that second, third interview, making that commitment. So it's being hey, do you want to be my boyfriend? Or hey, I want to offer you this job. Will you commit to me? So I feel it has a lot of similar processes. So as someone who works with college students and being really entry level, finding that first job, college students, I feel I'm making a huge assumption that you guys have had a lot of, not a lot, but maybe some experience dating. And I want to show that there's transferable skills between dating and finding a job. So that's where Find Your Peanut Butter came in, to where you're really finding the one that sticks. So that's my hashtag. So it's you're the jelly, you're finding your peanut butter. You're finding the one that sticks to you. You're finding the career that sticks to you. You're finding the soulmate that sticks to you. So I write about that in my blog, so check that out, www.findyourpeanutbutter.com. And it will kind of explain to you the processes, because honestly, you can do it. And it's a simple process as long as you trust in yourself, as long as you follow it, and as long as you're really proactive as well, and being patient. I think that's the biggest key to anything, being proactive and being patient. And honestly, I literally just went through this whole process myself with finding my peanut butter and doing a huge career transition from like nonprofit to corporate and to recruiting. So I just literally went through the whole process myself, and trying to explain that to you guys using my own personal experiences. So hopefully you do think it's really relatable. In addition to my website, I do want to throw it out there that I am in the process of writing a book about this as well. So this is an extended version of my blog. So definitely check that out, because it will have a lot more in-depth tricks and stories to this process. So whether you're finding your peanut butter in the sense of your career or in the sense of finding your soulmate, make sure to check it out. And then I'm sure Albert and I will talk about what's next in store for us as well.
So from the Alberts List side, as we stated earlier on, we are a job search marketplace for job seekers, recruiters, hiring managers, people who have the power of referral, and just general people who want to come and network. And we've gotten people jobs at various different companies around the San Francisco Bay Area and California. And right now, what we're currently working on is expanding that. So Find Your Peanut Butter and Albert's List are teaming up to develop courses around job seeking and being able to, find your peanut butter or find your next job. And Albert's List is also authoring an ebook that's hopefully going to be out by mid-May that's going to focus on new grads and finding marketing jobs through networking events in the Bay Area. And it's going to be a 40-page guide, and we're going to offer some really great solid advice in there. And so be on the lookout for that. All right, so that will conclude our conversation for today. And so stay tuned next week. On Monday, we're going to be talking with Sebastian DeLuca, and we're going to talk about how to get your first job in a startup. So we'll look forward to having you guys on Monday the 11th on a very special time, Monday Night with Albert's List. And so for all those who have joined us today or are watching on YouTube after the fact, thank you for doing so. And we look forward to helping you out. If you're looking for a job, bit.ly/findyournextjob, and we'll go from there. All right, talk to y'all soon. Bye.